It is an honor and privilege to pay tribute today to someone that was very special to all of us. Bill Glenn, or Captain Glenn, as he was known by the students at A&M. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Kelly Haas, and I met Bill a little over 10 years ago when I began working as an associate in the Galveston office of Royston Razor. Even though our firm was considered large, with 5 offices located along the Gulf Coast of Texas, our Galveston office was one of the smallest, with only 3 attorneys: Bill, our partner Jim Watkins, and myself. As one of my mentors, Bill had such a unique skill set and vast knowledge to offer a new associate making my way in the maritime legal community. Since Bill had actually sailed as a master prior to entering the legal field, he truly had a grasp of the issues we faced on our cases and was able to provide perspective that was often overlooked by the other partners and attorneys in the firm. There was never a time that he would not stop what he was doing to help me or Jim on one of our cases. Most recently, I remember Bill spending many hours over several days reviewing radar recordings with Jim on a collision case that Jim was going to try here across the street at the federal courthouse. The insight that Bill provided to Jim undoubtedly aided in the very favorable verdict Jim obtained. I was always amazed at the far-reaching impact Bill had on our local maritime community as a result of his years of teaching marine insurance and environmental law at Texas A&M Galveston. Each time I would board a vessel for an investigation, there was at least one person on board in various capacities that he had taught. After hearing I was with Royston Razor, that person would smile and say, "Oh, you work with Captain Glenn." Somehow it felt like I benefited from the respect that they had for Captain Glenn just by being associated with him. In addition to maritime law, Bill was also a licensed patent attorney for over 20 years. This alone should be an indication of how very gifted he was in having the intellect and skill set to succeed in this very specialized area of law that very few do. Most recently, Bill had begun specializing in the area of cybersecurity. This was a topic that he recognized as an up-and-coming hot-button issue years before it seemed others did. That was Bill. He was someone that thought outside the box and enjoyed helping others solve problems. I enjoyed learning the practice of law from Bill, but most of all, I cherish the memories made over the countless hours that we spent together over the last 10 years. When you go to work, you spend a lot of hours in the office with your little family, and that's what we were, was a family in that office. And most days that all 3 of us were there, we would make time to have lunch together. We would stop what we were doing, meet at the elevators, and pick where we were going to have lunch. And I just have to say, this explains why every time we went to lunch, Bill knew someone in the restaurant. This explains that now. It's very clear. Our lunch discussions always included stories ranging from remember when to what was happening in each of our lives outside the office. Bill was always happiest when he was telling stories about his beloved family. He was so very proud of his dear wife, Doran, and all she accomplished, while at the same time being a wonderful mother to Bailey and Jackson. I vividly remember the day she was sworn in as the district clerk of Galveston County, and Bill's excitement when he left the office to join her at the courthouse. He appreciated the little things too, like Doran's annual tradition of having one professional photo taken of Bailey and Jackson. He always shared the pictures each year and would tell me what a great idea this was and that I should make sure to do that with our son, Will. Bailey, during the fall that you built a 3D printer together, it was like Christmas every day when a new part would arrive in the mail at the office. He loved every minute of problem solving that project with you. He was so happy of all the adventures you were having at UT, and most recently loved sharing stories of your studying abroad in Vienna. Jackson, your father was very proud of you and the young man you were becoming from the internship you had this summer. And I remember, and this is not a part of my speech, but Jackson will remember, we went to the Wild Game Cook-Off and met at the band banquet to get our tickets from Bill. And poor Jackson, he was so, Bill wanted to introduce him to who Jackson would have his internship with that summer, and Jackson did not want to come. When was that going to be over? But lo and behold, it led to an internship, an incoming junior in high school, and how proud Bill was of that, Jackson. The fun that each of you had each week watching you march during the ball high football games, the joy that your father had in sharing his love of scouting with you was unsurpassed, though. In the 3 months since you returned from the National Scout Jamboree, there wasn't a time I spoke with Bill that he didn't have a story about something the two of you did on that trip. Bill was remarkable in so many ways. While reflecting on his life over the last week, what stood out most to me was how selfless he was and how much he genuinely cared for others. Accordingly, Bill would have wanted us to all be here today with our happiest thoughts of our time spent together and to carry on his mission of living life to the fullest.